Hello and how are you to all you sports lovers out there? My name is Robbie Gillette. Welcome to conversation number 28 of the Keeping It Real with Robbie podcast, where we chat all things from the mental side of sports to stories, laughs and banter. Whether into the old pigskin or the old leather ball, we've got you. Today I'm joined by Mike Houlie, an old mate of mine, an Olympic swimmer and a great human being. I love this chat. It's one of the first guys I've chatted to who's involved in an individual sport, and man, it gave me a different perspective. We covered his sacrifice, faith, family, the Olympic dream, and the fact that he hasn't had a McDonald's in 2 years. Good luck, Mikey. Give it all, and give it all today. I hope you guys enjoy, and as always, let me know what you guys think.
Good, bro. How you doing?
I'm good in yourself, man.
Oh, bro, I'm good. How was the day?
It's been good, man. I had some sessions today. And then afterwards I had a bit of a stretch session, a little bit of yoga, and now I'm here. So
I was about to say, looking pretty zen, bro. You're looking pretty chilled out. I love the haircut.
Thanks, bro. Thanks.
Are you in Cape Town, eh?
Yeah, I'm in Cape Town. And I'm with my family, so.
Okay, so isolating, mask on.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
That's crazy. I mean, I've got my grandparents staying with me.
Yes, yeah.
But even with them, it's like just doing the most that I can to stay safe and to keep everyone healthy. So.
No, exactly, but that's so good. But I was chatting to my mom earlier, and I was saying, like, although it's going to be like an awesome chat for guys to listen to, like, who don't know you, but I was saying, like, it's going to be cool for me. Like, we were mates at school, and then we haven't really like caught up or chatted much since then.
Yeah, man.
So it's going to be such a cool chat for me just to catch up, right? Just to like find out where you're at, and just to get that bubbly Mike Houlie experience that we always used to have. And I've got fond memories of us, like just chilling in prep school. I remember I was thinking about it today. I watched the that Bryce Lawrence game with the Springboks against Australia.
Yeah.
Bro, I watched that at your house, and like I've got distinct memories of just your dad, me, you, and we just, I think maybe Caleb Starr's dad would have been there, maybe.
Yeah.
And we was just like shouting at Bryce Lawrence, and it's like an iconic game.
Yeah, it was there at Old Farm Road, or
yeah, bro,
like my old house. Yeah. I remember. Jeez.
Yeah, bro. I was just like, we've had some lack of memories. Also played on the computers there at your new house. I remember that. Those games. But bro, like, I've known you for years. I really am proud of you. For the guys that don't know, Mike's an Olympian, or 5 days time he's off to Tokyo. How are you feeling less than a week before you leave, bro? It must just be a dream.
Dude, I'm excited, man. I can't wait to just be there. For me, I'm fulfilling a childhood dream, and that dream's finally coming true, man. So, I'm happy, and I can't wait to get there.
Let's go. And how special was it for you, bro? Like, you going to the games, like you find out, and then like how significant is it for you and your family?
So, yeah, I mean, it meant a lot to my family. Obviously, I'm the first Olympian in my family. And on both sides, they got like deep sporting roots. But, obviously, like during their time, they couldn't obviously fulfill those dreams or whatever. And so, I kind of get to do that, and they get to live through that, which is cool. So obviously, yeah, a lot's changed since then. But my family are just really proud of me. I'm trying to think, man, because I qualified really early during the qualifying period. And so it's been a roller coaster. I qualified in 2019.
What?
2019, 2 years ago. How crazy is that? And it was maybe 2 or 3 months after the window had opened up. And I swam under the A qualifying time twice. And since then, I've been training. I've been thinking, okay, I've qualified. I've met all the requirements to be on the team. And my family has obviously been on like the edge of their seat, like since then, just saying like, oh, just make it official, just announce the team. And then obviously the other day, they released the full team and my name was on it. And I just thought finally, finally for sure. And that moment, man, just meant the world to me. But I've always been the type of person, it's just step after step. As soon as that was announced, I went back to my process. And I was like, I got a job to do, got to compete, and so that's where my mind's really been at. So
sure, so it's quite awesome. It's quite a cool perspective to have on it. But I wanted to pick up on what you said there about your family having really strong, deep sporting roots, and they weren't necessarily able to fulfill those dreams. How much of that will you take into these games and use that as maybe motivation, or again, like you say, as a process, or will that certainly be playing in the back of your mind?
Well, it's definitely fuel.
Yeah,
and for me, one of the things that I hold closest to me when I'm racing is just the feeling of just gratitude. And every day I'm just grateful for my family and all the sacrifices that they've had to obviously do, and to just help me achieve this dream. And so, yeah, at the back of my mind, I'm obviously thinking I'm thankful for my family. But then again, it's just, I've just got to race, man. I've just got to swim. So.
No, so you experience gratitude in the water, and I try genuinely survive. So that's the difference between an Olympian. I started swimming this year for my degree, and it was tough, bro. I've got a huge respect for you swimmers. Where were you? Where'd you find? I mean, where were you watching? Can you remember? Obviously, you can remember, but just. With your family, was it special? And then, obviously, did you know before? Or, you said you qualified in 2019, but it wasn't official till a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah. So if we fast forward to the end of 2019, this is sort of the beginning period of just the whole Olympic year. And this was obviously before COVID and everything. I was thinking, okay, I got the qualifying standard in. And I was also based in the US, so I was in the US at the time. And I was just trying to get back for trials, and then COVID hit, and I was here. I stayed here for lockdown, and obviously the trials were cancelled. The Olympics were then postponed. I thought they were going to be cancelled, but luckily they were postponed, which meant it still obviously is going through. And so I just thought okay, wow, I have another year, and I just obviously had to just do the same thing, but better. So now if we fast forward to today, just leading up to when the teams were announced, I did the same thing. I obviously had the qualifying time. I needed to meet the requirements, such as swimming the fastest time or top 2 at our trials or nationals, because that's pretty much how swimming works around the world. For whatever nationals or trials that they have, they take the top 2 in each event, and whether or not they have an A standard determines whether they make the team or not. And so swimming is very brutal, because if you don't get the time, obviously you don't go, and if you get the time, it's all those kinds of things. So obviously I had the time, and I swam whatever was required for these trials that happened at the beginning of the year. I came home and I was just preparing, and then, so I pretty much knew I was going to be on the team, and I was just waiting until it was announced. But man, for the past 2 years, I've just been training, knowing I've done everything I needed to do to obviously qualify. I'm now just focused on swimming my best, or getting ready to deliver my best at the Olympics. And so that's where my mind's really been at, and what was going through my mind, obviously, when the team was announced. And so, it was all good.
Yeah. So you've obviously been based in the US, and we'll get to that. But and you say that the top 2 times will make the Olympics. So would you know kind of your competition in terms of overseas, and then how do you think you? Obviously, it's tough. Obviously, it's tough to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you rate your chances there for gold?
So, I mean, obviously being based in the US, there's a lot of international swimmers and obviously US-based swimmers that are just competing in the all collegiate system. And so, I mean, one of my teammates at Tennessee is a Bulgarian guy. He's a breaststroker. We're going to be swimming the same events. The Olympics. And so I get to obviously see him and I got to race against him, which is obviously interesting. But yeah, I mean, I know the guys that I'm competing against. I've competed against them before in the past. And yeah, I mean, most of the guys I was always with them at like the junior international competitions, and the junior Commonwealths and junior worlds, all those kinds of things. And so, yeah, I know who I'm swimming against. As far as my swims go, man, I'm just obviously preparing to give my best swim. I think that's what every swimmer or athlete that's going to the Olympics is trying to do, just deliver their best performance. And so all I've been focused on is my training. And I believe that the rest will kind of just fall into place. And so, yeah.
No, brilliant. I would have been worried if you were like, yo, I'm going to go there and get like 6 golds and like, give it the big one and then you get there. But no, I admire that. And something else I've admired about you for a long time is, you've had this ability to make big decisions and sacrifices throughout your life, and it's something I've admired because of the stages of your life, you've also done it at. Can you maybe talk us through some of the big decisions and sacrifices that you've had to make, and then we can unpack them individually as we go on?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think in terms of swimming, because swimming is just obviously the biggest part of my life. Besides just my faith and my family and studies and all that. But swimming, it's been a very, very interesting journey. And I mean, I've been swimming since I can remember. Even when it was just sort of like fun swimming in like a junior squad or something like that. But I remember when I was around about 12, that was where I really started to think, okay, like I want to up my level in swimming. And so I joined like a proper squad, and Thomas Oliver was with me at the time. And so, the level kind of just went up a bit. But I was still, remember I was grade 6 or something. I was still playing all other kinds of sports. So swimming wasn't like really the main focus.
We were playing rugby together, bro.
Exactly. And man, I also have fun memories of us just going custard over, just like,
right.
Yeah, even soccer. And so, I mean, I was doing all kinds of things. And then you fast forward to 2016. That was when I made the decision to take swimming seriously. And so if you take that 2012 to 2016 period, I was just living, man. I was just enjoying life. I'm enjoying life now, but I was just having fun with whatever sport. I wasn't taking things as seriously. I remember like I was probably coming to like 2 or 3 swim practices a week or something, playing polo, all those kinds of things, man. And so there was really just like, nothing I had to think about. But then 2016, I really had to make a big call. That was like, do I want to take swimming seriously? If so, I need to sacrifice a lot. And that's just time, because swimming takes up so much time. Obviously, you got like the early mornings. You've got obviously swimming before like school or something at the time. And then going straight to practice after school. And you got manage time with like your homework and things like that. Got to go to bed early so you can wake up the next morning feeling like energized for practice again. You're doing like 10 to like 11, 12 sessions a week. And so you really just like, you don't have that much time. And then, I mean, not to mention your social life and things like that, if I look at where I'm at right now, I've been home for a while now, but I haven't been able to see, even like family members, but a lot of like my closest friends and they're messaging me and it's like, can we do something? And obviously I'm like, I got the Olympics to focus on. We can do that afterwards, but it's just all those kinds of things. And so, since 2016, there's been a lot of sacrifices. But since COVID hit, I felt like everything changed,
Sure.
I felt I definitely got stronger during COVID. I came out of lockdown stronger than I did. Stronger than I came in.
Physically.
Physically. obviously I didn't have access to a pool at the time, and so I just made do with what I had. So I found ways, but I was very strict with myself. I was strict in terms of what I could eat and what I can't eat. I used to be the type of kid that could just eat whatever you wanted because I got a fast metabolism. I'd eat like chocolates, chips, cakes, you name it.
I remember, bro, we used to chow together, except I don't have a fast metabolism. So you look like a swimmer and I look like a prop. So
exactly, man. And so, I mean, it's been almost 2 years now, and I haven't had chocolate. I haven't drank any soda. Bro, I haven't been to McDonald's in 2 years. It's crazy, man. It's crazy because it's and so small sacrifices like that too, it's just but one of the things that's come with swimming is just change. And so when you go into a new environment and things like that, you gotta just give up a lot of things and obviously just hope for the best. And I've been experiencing change throughout my whole life, and I think one of my strengths is being able to adapt to that. And so it's just swimming has taught me a lot, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Like I spoke to Ross last week or 2 weeks ago, and he said like throughout his Olympic journey, he found that it like matured him quite a bit in terms of like the guys he's with. Like you see a different thing, and like no one. Let's be all real. So I know lots of people my age, 2 years above, 2 years below, and I only know 3 people going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty individual journey, and I mean, like, I just wanted to ask, like, do you think the journey has matured you, and like that 2012 to 2016 period? Do you also think you were just, it's just like matured you in terms of like discipline? Not having McDonald's in 2 years, bro, is good going.
But no, man, for sure. Man, I mean, even if I look at my journey at Tennessee, I've been there for 3 years now. I'm not the same person that I was when I first arrived there. Awesome. I just matriculated. I pretty much got on the flight as soon as possible, as soon as like exams were over or something like that. And here I am, just in this new environment, new country, away from my family, with a new team, all those kinds of things, and obviously starting my college degree and things like that. It was insane, but I found a way. And in that sense, I was kind of forced. I was forced to grow up and to mature. And along with swimming, like I mentioned earlier, swimming is brutal, and you go through a lot and you learn a lot. And so for me, with every swim, I look at it as either that was just obviously like a great swim, great outcome, the result or whatever. Or if I didn't do that or I didn't achieve that goal, I'd say, okay, what did I learn? And so it's either good or you either learn. And so in that sense, you're moving forward. You're moving forward in the right direction. And you're not looking back too. And so, man, since 2012, there's been a lot of those moments, and I can say I'm a lot stronger than I was then.
Yeah, I know for sure. And I think like swimming as an individual sport, I often say like individual sports are the most brutal, bro, because you can get you can't hide. There's nowhere to hide, and I think like a place where you can't hide is your work ethic. And I think like you would have had to work harder than the rest to get to where you are, to get to top 2 in the country. That means the top 2 in South Africa, you've worked harder than the rest, basically. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Have you always had that ability to work hard? I know when we were still hanging out at school together, and that you were obviously working hard, but that maybe isn't the hard work that needs to be put in to go to the Olympics, So have you always had that work ethic, or is it something you had to learn pretty quickly?
So it's so easy to say that like you always work hard, but there's definitely been challenges, and my definition of hard work has kind of changed over time. obviously I was a lot younger, and so working hard is kind of just like, if you look at it from a school perspective, like working hard is like, okay, you like finishing all your assignments, all the homework or whatever on that night so that you can be ready for tomorrow, or studying for a test or something like that. Something that's hard work. But when I look at it now, it's like, okay, you've got a 2-hour session and you've got X, Y, all those kinds of things. And you're trying to hit every single one of them, irrespective of how you're feeling. And so, yeah, what's interesting? When I think of hard work, I always think of Cristiano Ronaldo. One of my, go. On the same page. One of my sporting heroes. And he's obviously well known for his work ethic. His teammates are always saying things like, I try to come in to practice earlier, but he was already there. I wanted to stay afterwards. He's already there. He's working on free kicks, doing extra shooting, all those kinds of things. Ronaldo is just a machine. And that's, I guess, he's key to why he's just been so consistent over the years, and why he's still performing at pretty much the same level when he's like 36 or something. So, when I thought of it for swimming, it was just, am I training like I want to be the best in the world right now? Or am I training against the person that's next to me? And so, there are so many swimmers out there at so many different levels. And I mean, South Africa, we've got a lot of young swimmers that are very talented, but they kind of dip out because they just rely on the talent. And they don't think about the hard work. They don't want to put in the hard work. They'd rather just kind of like back out, take the easy road out of it. And, as a youngster, I think like without even thinking about it, I pretty much made that decision. Not because I was like, I want to just do this, but because I love swimming. It's always been fun, and I wanted to get better at it. I wanted to experience a lot more things. And so, yeah, it's as simple as, hard work over talent. And so now, when I look at my training, I'm always trying to look for better ways to improve. I'm trying to work smarter as opposed to harder. And when I'm competing, man, I'm not thinking of the guys that are here next to me in South Africa or wherever. I'm thinking about the guys that I'm going to be competing against, the world record holders, all those kinds of things.
Sure,
that's the level. Exactly. And so, when you look at it from that perspective, it's just, there's a whole different way to think about it.
That's so cool. And I also think what I picked up on there was like hard work at school is pretty short term. Like what you're working towards is long term, which is quite cool. It's Olympics every 4 years, so that's essentially what you look like. The hard work's going to have to be this next 4 years. The next 4 years, it's like you buy into that as soon as you hit the Olympics. But Mike, hard work's not easy, and I don't have to tell you that twice. Where's like the motivation and inspiration? I know you mentioned GOAT. I'm just gonna call him GOAT from now on. But I mean, like aside from him, where would you say you draw inspiration and motivation from in those times where you're like, this is not where I want to be right now in this pool? It's freezing cold. It's like 5 a.m.
Well, yeah, I always look for fuel. Something. It can be the smallest thing. It can be what someone said. It could be a thought. I even sometimes make things up just to kind of like push me in a certain moment. Sure. But over time, like I used to struggle like getting up super early and heading to practice. I'd like arrive and I'd be like a zombie or something, and I just wouldn't want to get in the water. But I mean, like if I look at it now, I've come a long way. I actually I'm up in the morning. I'm ready to go practice. I've found ways to kind of just cope just by doing it over and over again. And exactly. It becomes normal. But when you look at it from like a practice point of view, if you've got like a hard set or a hard or something that you've got to grind through, I take small things. I take visions. I take my Olympic dream or something. You know, I've had moments where I've just thought about like the Olympic rings. I envisioned myself at the games. And so that's kind of like the sport images. Certain like phrases or saying, like believe, or just like to believe in myself or something like that. I've also drawn a lot of inspiration from my family. You know, whenever I stand on the block before I'm about to go down for my race, I always think of my family. That's the last thought that goes through my mind. And it's that feeling of gratitude. And I've really just, you know, I've learned so many different ways to kind of just, you know, manage the hard times and the difficult moments. Obviously through experience, because at first it wasn't as easy. But there's ways that you can train it. And at Tennessee, we're very lucky. We've got a sports psychologist there, and whenever I'm there, I meet with him weekly, and we work on certain techniques and certain things. I tell him like, hey, Dr. Joe, I experienced this during practice. How do I make sure it doesn't happen again? What can I think about? What thought can I draw on? And we go through like different breathing patterns and styles. You know, we try to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And, you know, just by practicing and just by training yourself, it's crazy how just over time it like becomes like just normal and natural. I mean, I'm as cold as the weather is here in South Africa and how it's been over the past 2 weeks. I'm standing on pool deck at like 6 o'clock in the morning, just in my Speedo suit, and there's wind coming in, man. And I'm just thinking, I'm so warm. I'm in Cancun right now. I don't care, or something like that. I just couldn't manage it. And so you find ways to deal with it. But I've got some things that I keep close to me.
And I mean, how much of that of those sayings and that, you know, like I saw in your Instagram bio, which I love and saying I've done as well, is Jeremiah 29 verse 11. I think mine's Romans 8 verse 28. You know, like how much of your inspiration has come from your faith?
A lot, man. A lot. That it's obviously pretty much the biggest part of my identity. And you know, whatever I do, I'm doing it for the glory of God. But that verse, it's interesting because, you know, I go through like like different weeks with my family. I mean, we just meet together and do like a devotion or something like that. And one person said like, hey, like you guys, let's pick like a verse that we can focus on for the week. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 is always my verse. It's interesting. And it's just because, you know, I believe God's got a plan for everyone. That's what the verse said. And I just need to follow him. You know, he's written a plan for me. I've just got to do my best and to just kind of stay on that path. And the rest will kind of just happen. And so, you know, if you look at that whole 2-year process of qualifying for the Olympics and then to now, you know, a lot was happening, but I can tell you, like at the beginning, I was thinking, just trust God. There's a plan being put into play. You know, there'll come a day where the Olympics is going to happen. I'm going to be there. I'm going to arrive, and I can say, thank you. I can be thankful. I can be grateful. And I can just smile and know that God was obviously at work and that he's still working.
100%, bro. I always say that it's God's plan, but I'm also going to give it a hell of a go. And I think that's what you've done as well, which is like when you're able to combine the two of just like giving it a go and just giving it all, everything, and then, you know, he's working in your life. I think that's probably the most powerful thing in the world. And then I know it fires me up as well to think. So it's quite cool. It's also quite cool that you guys meet weekly to do that. I've also done that recently with a couple guys in Stellenbosch. It's just refreshing for the week, eh?
Yeah, man.
Where did the love for swimming come from? And then I know you mentioned in that 2012 to 2016 period, you kind of decided this is when you give it a go, or I guess when did you realize I could?
That swimming was kind of my thing.
Yeah, this is my thing. I'm pretty good at it. I can go to the Olympics. Like,
yeah. So for me, I love swimming because of the sensation you feel when you're in water. As a kid, I always used to love going underwater and just kind of like just staring, just staring, being kind of tranquil. Because obviously, like, there's pretty much like nothing happening, and in that moment, I always felt like the problems outside of the water kind of just faded away, and it was just me in the water.
Yeah,
I felt that up to this day. That is my feeling. That is why I feel calm. I feel natural in the water. And over time, I just trying to think the first time where I sort of started racing. It's funny because I would always do the swimming at like Rondebosch, at like the galas and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would just, want to have fun. I'm with my friends or whatever. And I'm like, let me just race or whatever. And breaststroke was always natural for me. I don't know why. It had something to do with the movement, the kick and the arms or something.
Mike, can I quickly just ask you to pause there? My dad's making a bit of a noise outside. So I'm just going to go tell him to shut up quick. Sorry, bro.
You're good.
Sorry, bro.
Very good, man.
That doesn't usually happen. I just I thought I could get away with it. I thought his phone call would end, but it just wasn't.
Yeah, but I actually just had my mom and my sister like just outside this room. They were watching like some TV show or whatever, and like they're laughing and making all kinds of noise. And I told them like, guys, come on. Yeah. So to get back to your question, at Rondebosch or like the galas or whatever, the meets that they had, I would just swim, and I somehow just ended up like winning. And I thought, okay, like this is cool. Like this is
everyone loves winning. Like
everyone loves winning. Yeah, I'm not complaining. It happened. I'm just happy. And so I don't know. I just kept like swimming, and I kept like winning in like the breaststrokes events or whatever, and breaking like primary school records or something. And so I thought like, oh, that's cool. But at the same time, I probably wanted to be a soccer player. That was kind of like
you always were a good soccer player. Now always in the 18.
Yeah, man. It was soccer. I've been through a journey, and I haven't touched a soccer ball in 2 years. As well, very tough. But yeah, so I mean, I was like winning at the school galas or whatever, and I thought, okay, maybe I should take it to like a club level. And so 2012 was kind of the flip where I started doing more club galas around the Western Cape. And as I mentioned earlier, Tom was with me. And obviously Thomas was also like an insanely good swimmer. And he also cleaned up in like primary school and that. But yeah, for me, the biggest or the defining moment in my swim career was 2015. That year, I attended my first level 3 age group nationals. And so level 3 is the highest or sort of like the top competition. It's actually now called junior nationals.
Okay.
And so, I had always like qualified for like the level 1 and level 2, but level 3 was like the top one. And so I thought like, okay, once I make it, then I get to go. And I think I made it the 1 year in like maybe 2014 or something, but didn't end up going because I wasn't taking it seriously then. But 2015, I remember my coach actually like threatened to kick me out the squad or something if I didn't go. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. But I went to a water polo competition or water polo tournament like right before the meet. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna play polo and then I'm gonna come straight over.
Oh.
So I did that. And in my first race, it was a 50-meter breaststroke. I ended up winning and breaking the 15-year-old age group record.
No ways.
I came out of nowhere. No one expected anything. I was just there like swimming, man. And so it was just like it was a crazy moment. And that's when everyone was like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's just so talented, natural talent.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's obviously got to like, we want him to be in the water more. He can get so much better. And so, yeah, there was those moments, but man, I really made the big decision in 2016 though, to take it seriously. But swimming was always in the background.
That's it's quite a fascinating story, that one. You obviously had a longer warm up than the rest of the guys, so maybe that's why. But you obviously made the switch from Rondebosch to Bishops at the age of 13. And Mikey, on this podcast, we forgive people, bro. And take it. That would have been quite a big decision for a 13-year-old to make. Is that a fair assessment? And then why did you make the move?
Yeah, so obviously that was a big decision. At the time, I was happy. But I guess I was just looking for change. And as I mentioned earlier on, I've experienced change throughout my whole life. And so I thought, okay, let's just get a fresh start, new environment, new people. And it was a great opportunity. But at the same time, I was leaving a lot of my friends. And that was difficult. And I'm obviously still connected with all you guys. I mean, we're on this podcast now, man.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so yeah, at the time it was a tough decision. And yeah, in the end, it actually remember, I wasn't taking swimming seriously then, so it had nothing to do with swimming. Most people thought it was because of swimming. But one of the big things at Bishops was the music department.
Okay.
I was a music student throughout high school. And coming into the high school, I thought like, I played the violin and the bass guitar. I was in like all the wind bands or whatever at Rondebosch.
Yeah, I remember.
And like that was so much fun for me because it was kind of like an outlet. It wasn't a sporty thing. It was something I did away from the pool and away from like home. And so, music has just always been like a big part of my life. And Bishops has one of like the best music departments in the country. And I remember just visiting and I fell in love with it. And so if anything, I mean, one of the main reasons why I went over was because of that music department. And now when I look back at it, it ended up being amazing because the music department did so much for me. When swimming started to take off, they obviously they said things like, oh, you've obviously got this instrument, and this requires you to be part of this band and to attend this and this and this. And because swimming takes up so much of your time, like it's difficult, and it didn't seem like I was able to like continue as a music student and things like that. But they came up with a plan for me. They they were able to let me like focus on bass guitar, which was like my main instrument. And they adjusted to when I was traveling and things like that. But yeah, music was obviously a big thing. The school itself, you know, it's like across the road, man. So
yeah.
it was just it was interesting. But I remember one of the very important things that my dad said was, you know, we have the opportunity. We have the opportunity to send you there. And so why not? Why not? And most people thought when I arrived there, most people thought I was on scholarship, which was like a common thing. And especially because of the whole sport background. But it wasn't. My dad said, you know, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna obviously go for the scholarship when there's someone else out there who needs the scholarship when we can actually pay and everything. And so, you know, we wanted it to be on merit and to kind of just take that opportunity. So yeah, that's pretty much the background around it.
Yeah, no, and it seems like it's all worked out. I mean, it has worked out. And yeah, I'm happy that it has. But I obviously at the time we were all like shocked and that, and then you know you get used to it. It's like at the end of the day, it's just a school. Like it's 100 meters down. Like we get so sucked into that whole thing, but it's all just a school.
Or something.
Yeah. And I think there's space there, but I also think it's if Oak wants to go there, like let it happen. But I think, yeah.
It would be always like it would be so crazy whenever we had the Bish Bosh Derby for the various sports because you know I'd be there supporting, and I had like the rugby for example, I'd be supporting, and I have mates on both sides. So I'm thinking like, you know, obviously I'm proud of my school. I want them to win, but I kind of want like my mates from both teams to like score hat tricks and like. So I was like, you know, I just wanted it to be a really good game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my classmates would like see me supporting like one of my mates is like, he's for the other school. I'm like, oh no, he's a mate of mine. So it would be like so interesting.
Yeah.
And even the water polo, man, that was like the funniest thing because, you know, like you take someone like Tom Oliver, for example, you know, we'd have to like mark each other in the water. And you know, it's like I'd be there laughing, dude, because I'm like, how cool is this? Like, he's my mate.
Literally.
And I like obviously I'm playing the game, but I'm not like focused on like the competitive nature.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I'm not trying to like do anything too. I'm just like, hey, like I'm laughing, man. I'm smiling or whatever. I'm like, dude, like we mocking each other or whatever. So we just end up being like a funny thing, and then afterwards we'd like laugh about it.
Yeah.
And so, man, it's been interesting and fun to experience that.
No, yeah, I can imagine. Must be quite weird. But moving to the US must have been one of the biggest sacrifices. Having like you're obviously so close with your family, and I mean obviously Cape Town's a beautiful place, but it would have been maybe one of the biggest sacrifices if I'm correct. And I mean, like, how have you enjoyed your time in the US? I mean, from what I've seen on Instagram, it looks insane. How have you enjoyed it?
So, my decision to go to the University of Tennessee and to study in the US was the best decision I've ever made. It's been an incredible journey, and I've grown so much. I've learned so much, and so because I was kind of just taking in the moment, I wasn't really like thinking like, oh, I'm leaving home. I'm away from my family. I was just in the moment. I was taking it all in, enjoying every step of the way, and trying to make the most of it. But yeah, when I was here, you know, I always saw myself going to the US, and for those that don't know, the US has always been the dominant country in swimming. I mean, you obviously got like Michael Phelps, and
Michael Houlie.
but the US just they rack up all the gold medals at the Olympics, and they clean up. And I'm convinced that that's due to the college system. It just works, and so I always thought to myself, I see myself going there, and I wanted to go there, and so I did whatever I could to get there. I I was actually also fortunate because whenever I traveled to like the international meets, there was one in the US, and I ended up meeting like some of the recruiters. We set up like calls and things like that. We went through the whole process and ended up going on recruiting trips. I checked out a few of the campuses and the colleges and that. And so, yeah, I always saw myself going there. And then when it finally happened, it was like, okay, this is a new chapter in my life. It's a fresh start, new environment. I've done it so many times. It was kind of like a normal thing. But yeah, it's been crazy. And this chapter in my life was sort of the first one which I've pretty much written on my own. Obviously away from family. And in that sense, it's good because I had to grow. I had to go on my own. I had to figure out things for myself. I could always cook for myself, but when you're away from the family, you don't get mommy's cooking.
The good stuff.
The good stuff, which I've obviously enjoyed now that I'm home. And and so I had to figure out things for myself. And you obviously like the first year you obviously stay in the dorms, and then you move out off campus and you're in an apartment either by yourself or with mates. And so it's like you're growing up, man, all those kinds of things. And then on top of the swimming, for the college and that, you're obviously juggling like your studies. And so it's been amazing. It's been amazing, man. And as far as my swimming journey goes, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go to the US was because, obviously because of their dominance, but the US is very good when it comes to the technical elements in swimming. So for example, it's things like your start, your turn, your underwaters, things like that. Pretty much everything that isn't the swimming part. So on top of the water stuff. And so, yeah, not many people realize that. And that's where the US just have like a big edge over countries like us, where we pretty much only focus on the swimming part and not on the technical side of things. And so, I obviously tried my best. Yeah, the coaches that I was with tried their best too, but the US is just next level. And I knew what I was getting myself into. And so, yeah, that's really been the big focus. And if I look back at where I was 2 or 3 years ago compared to now, I've improved in all those areas. The goal was to obviously be world class, and so like now it's like getting to the point where it's like beyond that, and so it's just it's crazy. And then with my studies too, just figuring out what I want to do after swimming, because that's obviously swimming's only going to take me so far, and then I got to figure out what I want to do next. So focusing on my degree and that. But yeah, man, it's been amazing. It's been amazing learning experience, and I've actually still got 2 more years left. So it's crazy because I'm pretty much like halfway, and I'm just excited to see what happens there too.
And would you look at staying in the US once you're done studies?
That's definitely an option. But I guess I'll answer that question, or I'll think about it closer to the time. But for now, I'm focused on where I'm at right now.
Mikey, what would you say some of the highlights of your career have been, like personal ones that stood out to you, like that so just maybe some of your highlights.
So, if I think in terms of South Africa, so nationally, I had a very successful junior career. And if I look at it, I multiple junior age group record holder in the breaststroke events from the ages like 15 to 18. I got all of that. I won as like a junior or whatever in South Africa. I was one of the top juniors. I traveled around Africa for various junior African championships and under 20 games and things like that, where I won. And so, yeah, in terms of nationally as a junior, I pretty much achieved everything that I could have achieved. Internationally, though, that's a lot's happened. I went to junior worlds. I made finals, and everyone else was still like a year older than me. And so, despite having that like disadvantage or something like that, I made it work. I went to the junior Commonwealth. I won 2 golds there. I broke the records there. Probably one of my best ones was Youth Olympics. I won the 50 breast, the Youth Olympic Games, and was the record holder there. That one just like I still got the medal like up there.
No ways, bro.
That's so cool. It's crazy. And so as a junior, I achieved a lot of things. I also, as a junior, I qualified for like senior Africa champs, and I won medals there. I qualified for the Commonwealth game, ended up winning a bronze medal there. And so I did a lot as a junior. And it's only recently where I've sort of moved into that senior stage of my career. And so, yeah, the whole time I was obviously competing as a junior, whereas now it's like, it's the big boys, it's the big dogs. Yeah, lots happen. I mean, I'm a national champion in the 50 and the 100. And so, man, it's like, it's so crazy to think, because obviously I'm thinking in terms of like an international perspective, but like nationally, like to obviously be the best in like the country is still obviously like a huge thing.
Right.
And so like, I've obviously got to like, I'm happy with that. But, after that, it's like, what's the next step? How can I then make that international? Then you're thinking like, how can I be like the best in the world? And so, my mind, the same reason why I left the US was my mind kind of like outgrew South Africa.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted bigger things. So, that kind of explains most of my swimming career. But yeah, one of my biggest highlights was going to the university games and representing South Africa. Obviously, because it's the university games, you got to be like a college athlete or at the university.
Yes,
at a university. And so at the same time, I was representing Tennessee, but obviously swimming for my country. And at that meet, I broke all the records in the 50-meter breast, and I ended up medaling as well. And I also qualified. That's why I qualified in the 100 breast for the Olympics. And so that meet itself was a huge highlight for me. And so, yeah, a lot's happened there. Not many people know how the US collegiate system works. They've obviously, you've got like your sectional meets, because the US just breaks down into like the different provinces and all kinds of things. And so Tennessee is in the Southeastern Conference. And so we swim against colleges like Florida, Alabama, Auburn, Arkansas, and Georgia. And so those are kind of like the colleges that are in our conference. And then nationally, you're competing at the NCAA, which is the big one. And so as like a college athlete, I've achieved a lot of things, and I'm only 2 years into my degree. And so it's crazy. I mean, I've medaled at the SECs. I've broken records. I've qualified for the NCAA 2 times now. I've also made finals. And to just consistently like swim best times. I'm the program or pretty much the Tennessee record holder in the 100 breast now. And I'm also on the record book for the 200 breast. And so, these are all kind of like small things. But it's a big highlight for me because, it's stepping stones. It's stepping stones for the big highlight, which is still to come.
That's it, bro. And having journeyed through these sacrifices in the last 40 minutes and your decision making and just again kind of things you've had to sacrifice. How sweet is it now that you've secured your spot to Tokyo? I mean, it must just fire you up to just go there and just win
it. Funny, man. No, man, it is sweet, but there isn't really a day where I get to rest. It's funny because it's not now that I know I'm going, I can just have an extra piece or an extra scoop of ice cream or something just because I feel like it.
Yeah.
I've always just gone back to the process, and so I'm just staying on there until the actual Olympics happen, and after that, then I'll just reassess everything, and then come up with a new plan and then work on a new process. And so it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, brilliant, Mikey. I think I am conscious of your time. I know you probably got to get to bed soon, isn't it? You got to wake up early tomorrow. Let's just do the Q&A. It's 4 questions. Let's start with: do you really have a size 82 shoe? I assume that's a bit of exaggeration, but yeah, is it really that big, bro?
No, but it's close. It's. I think my shoe size, it's about 14 or 15.
That's a flipper.
Oh, bro. I mean, that's what most people say. Most people are like, oh, you just, you got built-in fins, and so it just. But also in the US, I mean, very fortunate, very lucky that the University of Tennessee gives us all our gear and stuff, and so we get proper shoes. I mean, I'm wearing a Tennessee jacket right now and things.
So nice.
And so it's so cool. And so their shoes, it's they can get it custom made or whatever. My foot's very broad, and so the size varies when the shoe is customized and things like that. But it's 14 or 15.
No, so pretty close. It's up there. Out of all the coaches you've trained with, who is your favorite, and who has been the most memorable?
I mean, I feel like I gotta say my coach right now because he's the one that I'm working with now and the one that I'm gonna be with at Tokyo. But I'm thankful for every coach that I've had. And I've worked with multiple coaches, even at Tennessee. Everyone's played an important part in my life and an important role at that time. And that's when I needed them the most. And so the coach that first got me into swimming, if you think about it, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have the coach that I was with when I started taking swimming seriously, then it's it's important to acknowledge that, and to just kind of be thankful for moments and what they've done. But yeah, Tennessee, I've got to shout out the coaching staff at Tennessee. They're amazing. I mean, even my strength and conditioning coach, or my lift coach, whenever we gym, he's just incredible. It really just goes beyond swimming. There'd be times where I'd walk into my coach's office and I'm like, okay, coach, what are we doing today? And it's like, Michael, how are you doing today? How's life? And so it's really just it gets it. But the relationship with the coach is meant to evolve over time. When you're a lot younger, the main focus is guidance. The coach is meant to help you and guide you. But when you get older, you're a lot more mature. You actually get more of a say in things and what you do. And so the relationship changes and as it adjusts. But throughout the years, I've always looked for that relationship in a coach, because if we don't click, then we don't click. But if we do, then there's power in that. And I've always been big on communication. And so the coach that I'm with right now, I love him, and he's my coach for Tokyo. We have a good relationship. There's good communication there. But our relationship is improving every day. And so
Brilliant.
In that moment, in that sense, it's just, there's a lot more to come with that, and I'm just thankful for you.
No, that's awesome, man. I think let's do the next one. How do you strengthen your kick?
How do I strengthen my kick? That's interesting because breaststroke, most people or most swimmers believe that breaststroke is 80% legs, 20% arms. And so people just kind of like think they need to like work on the kick, but then forget to do the arms. I'm convinced my breaststroke was so good at a young age because I was playing soccer or doing water polo. And so, I was kind of like forced. I had to use my legs. I had to like tread in the water. And so, just by working the muscles. But if I look at where I'm at now, if I'm focusing on my kick, it's about practice. That's how you strengthen your kick. Just working on it every day, being consistent with it, figuring out ways to get better. And obviously working hard is one thing, but working smarter and more efficiently is also a big thing. So.
Okay. And have you ever had a knee injury?
I have not.
Hey guys, sorry about that cutting off. Technology failed us, but I know where I went wrong, and it won't happen again, I promise. But basically, I just want to say thanks, Mikey, for coming on. I really enjoyed the chat, and thank you for your time. And we're all rooting for you at the Olympics. Go smash it, and we can't wait to see you just flourish and live out your childhood dream. Thanks, guys, for listening. If you got this far, and I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.